How's it going, people? Welcome back to the Goonerverse podcast.
Good one.
It's an original Gunners takeover. I had to make you feel at home, mate. How are you?
Yeah, no worries, man. I am at home, man. Come on, man. My little bro James got his channel, is doing well. Sharoy's on it as well. Come on, big signing. Makes sense.
It's a big signing. That's my marquee sign. More marquee signings than the Cronkies, may I say. How are you, Curtis?
Wow.
So I don't get no big intro. All right, yeah.
Well, sorry. A big up
Don't worry, he'll rip his shirt off in a minute.
Here he goes.
Well. Don't worry, man. It's coming.
He goes. So I'm trying to work my way out of that. OG's is off next week. We're delaying.
Cancelled. Further notice.
Yeah. No, we're good, man. Well, we're just about good anyway. You know, it's a good job we did this post Shakhtar rather than.
Is it?
Just, well, actually, yeah. Maybe not, but at least we won.
Should have waited post Liverpool, but even then, I'm being hopeful. But
yeah.
Guys, welcome. I'm going to say it for those who don't, but I know you all do. But I'll say it anyway. Of course, Turkish on Turkish LDN, Curtis Shaw TV, and the show got together, Original Gunners, which I really enjoyed tuning into. Even when you take the piss out of me celebrating draws against Man City, but hey ho, it's all part of it. No, it's a pleasure having you on, Sharoy, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, all right, man. I mean, to be honest, I'm probably a bit closer in age to these Original Gunners than you, bro. So it could be an old man thing.
How old are you, Sharoy?
I'm 35 in March, man.
Yeah, come on.
No.
Yeah. I'm not that young.
You're a year younger than me then, because I'm 37 in March. I had 2 years.
We're born like a week apart, right? You're like mid-March too. It's a year and a week or something like that.
Yeah.
I've not cracked 30.
That's what I mean.
All right, well, there we go.
Arsenal will age you quickly, man. Don't worry about
that. The hairline is on its way. At some point, I've just got to embrace it. But you know what? There we go. It's fine. Everyone, where should we start? Arsenal beating Shakhtar. It's not a post-match pod. We don't really do that. But my word is it left a bit of a damp, potentially worried feeling amongst the Arsenal fan base going into Liverpool. The good thing is we've got maybe another 5 days to try and get players fit and ready because we're going to need them on that pitch. The big news coming out of today was that Bukayo Saka is supposedly going to be fit. That came from Sam C, who was very reliable throughout the summer covering Arsenal transfers, albeit a United Stand reporter. Sammy Mokbel said that Arsenal feel optimistic, but Mikel Arteta is giving us his usual read between the lines. I'm going to make it sound a little bit different to what I want you to know. Where do you think we are with this, Curtis, man? Bukayo Saka and his fitness, it feels crucial. Do you think we're going to have him, and how important is it that we do?
I mean, I think he is going to play. I think Mikel's doing up the mind games. It obviously shows that the injury is worse than Lee Carsley made out, because he was making out as if, he nearly made the second game and we haven't seen him in like over a week. So, do you know what? I went to the game last night. I haven't been for a while. Took my son to the game, and it was a very strange atmosphere in there. And just the game in general, the team, they look very flat. It was like sometimes you lose a game and you should have won it, and you've just got that feeling. It takes a while to shake off. I kind of felt like there was a hangover going into that game last night. And I think Mikel spoke about it in the press conference that we've got to start finishing teams off. Shakhtar should have been gone by half time. Jesus missing chances and a few other. Calafiori had a good chance. And anytime you don't finish a team off, you're encouraging them back into the game. And you could see Shakhtar's confidence growing throughout the game. And it was funny, we had hospitality. And I'll be honest, there was a lot of the time we were turning round watching Vinicius Jr. on the screen because I'm going, there's not much to watch out here. I took my son, we're going, well, he's on his phone. Vinicius is scoring. I'm like, it ain't always like this at Arsenal, but
no.
We're in a time period that I feel like is crucial to us, because I feel like most teams each season, they have a spell where things start to go wrong a little bit. You've got to kind of manage your way through that to get that light at the end of the tunnel. And I kind of feel like with us now, we've got to get that victory on Sunday, get players back fit, maybe get to the international break, and then maybe the fixture list looks a little bit kinder. So I think we're in a crucial period of the season for us. But I think people are a little bit worried at the moment. It feels as if we don't win on Sunday, that it's, the energy might shift a little bit. So I really hope we get that win.
One thing, obviously we did Forever Arsenal, Turkish speaking, more specifically about Shakhtar and looking ahead to Liverpool. But one thing I want to know, because I'm going to group Southampton, even though we've actually won 2 of our last 3 games, I want to group the Southampton performance in where it was below par, perhaps not at quite the level we expected. Certainly Bournemouth wasn't, Shakhtar far from. I spoke to my dad, who was also at the game last night, and, he just went, you take the points and run, basically. It was not pretty, even in the stadium, as you experienced it, Curtis. And I guess my question is this just a blip and a moment for Arsenal, or is it a truer reflection of the team we are this season? Which might sound like quite a dramatic question, but I'm curious, because not everything's been pretty this season, and we've sort of added context with other games. What do you think?
It's hard to say, because the Odegaard injury is probably the only other thing that could be the reason for the way we're playing or the way we've set up in certain games. And because they both kind of, the season starts game week 1, and I think Odegaard was out from game week 3, is it?
Yes, he came off against Brighton with a slight problem, and then we haven't seen him since.
Yeah, so I think, it was this the next step in Arteta's philosophy? Was this the step to close that gap? Was this the step that, albeit with a poor transfer window, in my opinion, all round, was it to go in and make the gap smaller and overtake City tactically? Maybe it was, but maybe the Odegaard injury has forced us to play like this. So I don't really know, but I wouldn't call the last 3 games now a blip, because it's kind of, last season, I think we started in similar fashion in terms of maybe the level of performance. I think I used to mention fluidity and transition a lot last season, and I think I could use the same 2 words this season. But I mentioned on my fan cam last season, the big switch up came with the Havertz move. Right now, I don't see a player that's maybe in a different position than he should be, coming in, slotting into a position and changing it all up like that kind of Havertz chess move did. So I am worried, because you know how I feel about the window. I don't want to make this about the window. Again, I'm talking about it in every video, but I'd say it's more than a blip. But have I given up? No. I always predicted second this season. That's not me giving up, because I predict second, but I still say we can win the league. But we'd heavily have to rely on Arteta now to figure it out again, like he figured it out last season, like he figured it out the season before, when we wasn't meant to. Don't forget, 2 years ago, we wasn't meant to challenge. We challenged. So we've done something. Last year, it wasn't going all to plan in the first 19, 18 games. He done something. He changed it up. Bang. We're back in it. We make one of our best runs in Premier League history. We fall just short. We're going to need him to do something again. And the thing is, he's already done something this season where, don't forget, when Odegaard got injured, that international break, I was nervy. I was thinking, we've left ourselves short in this position. He's now out for at least 3 months, and it's going to cost us. But Arteta done something different against Tottenham. He done something different against City. And I had to turn around and say, listen, you know how I feel about Mikel Arteta. I think he's going to win majors, whether it's with Arsenal, whether it's not with Arsenal. I think he'll eventually get there. But I am worried. I think it's more than a blip. I think we have problems that right now, with injuries as well, coupled up with a lack of being able to be tactically flexible now in his approach. I think our backs are against the wall at the moment, including Arteta's. That's why I was surprised with his comment about we're going to be flying against Liverpool, because it's a bold statement to make after the last 3 games.
Yeah, it is. I agree. I was surprised to see that as well. It almost made me think, well, Saka and Timber must be fit because that's such a bold thing to say when you don't actually know the state of your squad. I mean, you must be really confident that you're going to get something out of them, or you're going to have certain players you can rely on. You can't say that if you don't know, where sort of 3 or 4 of your most important players are going to be. But Sharoy, you're dying to get in there. What did you make of it?
It genuinely seemed like he was trying to light a fire under the players' asses, because I felt when he said that he had tried everything behind closed doors. He very often has a front-facing position and a private position. I think that he just had to do something front-facing to galvanize these players, because look, people talk about us being so defensively astute and defensive-minded, but I know they weren't the cleanest goals, but we did concede 2 against Leicester. I know that we won the game, but we did concede. It was a really poor goal to concede against Southampton, man, giving Archer that much space, you know. And we're talking about Shakhtar Donetsk last night. I mean, coming from a war-torn country where certain male individuals aren't even allowed to leave the country because of their age, from what I'm reading. And there was a point where they looked like they could come out there with a 1-1, to the extent that Amazon Prime are interviewing David Raya about a spectacular save, right? And I can't imagine that is what Arteta's setting up to do. So that for me was a clear message to put the pressure on the players and say, listen, you're at home now. People are getting on to you. I'm actually going to apply the pressure in public as well. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of the pressure has arisen because at no point, if you have challenged for a title the year before and been that close, should any of your competitors realistically be able to open a 7-point gap when you're not even ready to hit November? Not even, I mean, I'm not even talking about Manchester City here, by the way. I'm talking about Liverpool being able to open a 7-point gap when we're at home. Now, we've beaten them at home for the last 2 seasons, and I know they were slightly nervy. I think Thiago clipped Jesus and we got a 3-2, and last year we had to rely upon an uncharacteristic mistake from Van Dijk and Alisson, right? But these Liverpool fans right now in my WhatsApp groups, best believe that they are waiting around like those hyenas in The Lion King, bro. They're salivating. They're ready. Some of them are even telling me, listen, we're going to 3-0 you if you turn up. And I'm hearing that and I'm thinking, this isn't just internal nerves from us. This is now externally, people are looking at us and thinking there's a problem. I think Arteta knows that, sadly, when it comes to the Premier League, we're in season-defining territory at the end of October.
Yeah, and I get we are, but I do feel like memories are a bit short, right? Because Liverpool can come to the Emirates and win. They absolutely can. They've got the quality, they've got the firepower. We're not in great form. We've got a few injuries. They absolutely can do it. Even without the injuries, they're capable. But here's the thing that winds me up about that, right? Liverpool fans saying we're going to come score 3. And they might, and I get it. But I just keep thinking, like, we did finish the last 2 seasons above Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. And they'll say, well, yeah, but that first season, you know, we weren't very good and we went through transition. Cool. The second season, you were challenging for the title. You're actually ahead of us for a lot of it. Like, they've come to the Emirates and conceded 6 goals in the last 2 games there. They haven't beaten us at Anfield. They haven't beaten us in the last 4 games across 2 Premier League campaigns. Like, this is where it wasn't that long ago. We just went to the Etihad. But for Trossard, and we can all debate whether it was a red or whatever, but for that Trossard red card, we were going to half time going, guys, I think we're outplaying City at the Etihad. I know the context going to this game is different, but we're still a very good side. And I hope that externally, I hope that Arteta's trying to remind the players that. I know they also need to be told, yo, get out of this, and they need a bit of a, you know, metaphoric slap around the face. But also they need a reminder of how good they can be, no?
Yeah, that, and I mean, look, going to your point about memories being short, right? Liverpool did lose to Forest. Liverpool did get past Palace. I mean, I think it was a 1-0. Wasn't the most convincing. Wolves went 1-1 against them and gave them a really crap penalty. But I mean, Liverpool didn't look great in that game either. Now, City, for all of the criticism that we got there, they couldn't put more than 1 past us, even with 10 men for an entire half, and it took them until the last second as well. And there have been a number of City dropped points against Newcastle. We analyze Arsenal in a lot more depth than we do with other teams, right? But yeah. I think a lot of those fan bases could point at certain performances throughout the course of the short period of the season that we've seen so far and say that they haven't quite been at their best. But the problem here is we're talking about a pretty much full-strength Liverpool side with just the 1 loss in the league. And our squad now, I mean, look, there's a lot of hypotheticals, right? Because I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, it could be Timber, Calafiori, Ødegaard, Saka, and Saliba out, which is catastrophic, or it could just be Saliba and Ødegaard. I don't know at this stage. You know, the real problem with that is, I'm going to come back to the window now. We've got the OGs on the pod, right? We might as well get to it. But the problem with that is, all of those injuries, I know it's described as a crisis and it's described as a catastrophe, but I have to say that if there was not necessarily a like for like, but a similar profile of replacement for Ødegaard, for example, that Arteta visibly trusted, then it's not described as a crisis. It's described as unfortunate injuries, the same way that we're describing it at the back because we're so stacked there. Wasn't that position something that was reasonably foreseeable in the window? How often have we been talking about things like the Saka backup, for example? Again, it's not going to be like for like, but there were a lot of people that were overhyping the Raheem Sterling signing, and there were a lot of people that were very, very pessimistic about it, right? I don't think he's shown anything to suggest that he's a near adequate replacement for Bukayo Saka in that position, and that's where these nerves come from. And my point here is I completely see both sides of the argument, but we do need to remind ourselves, I don't think the team should need reminding, but we need to remind ourselves that we finished 2 points behind City last year. Liverpool haven't beaten us at home in the league for 2 years. They've had a brand new manager that's been here for a few months, right? If we can't set up to extinguish a team like this when our record is actually better against the big six teams than it probably is against a lot of the lesser teams, then there's going to be some real analysis that goes on after that game in terms of not just that game, but the trajectory of the season.
The thing about it is we played, in regards to this season, Tottenham and City away from home, and Villa as well. I think, they're all teams that are going to go for it. And I think that suited our approach, especially without Odegaard in Manchester and Tottenham, because then we can excel in our defensive side of things and do what we need to do. And like it just felt like the tweak Arteta made without Odegaard for them games just worked. But we've seen that he hasn't been able to tweak it back in terms of Leicester, Southampton. Even though Leicester, we created an awful lot of chances. That's the anomaly. So I put that more down to Leicester being poor than us getting it right on the day. Because all the ones around them, it's not that we've been creating an abundance of chances. So now those tweaks haven't, worked the other way around. We're being exposed more for the lack of clinicalness. And it does go back. You said, him saying we're going to be flying on Sundays, trying to fire up the players' asses. He better watch out he doesn't light one under his own, because that's a very bold thing to say after what I've just seen this club do, regardless of Saka being there as well. We've seen Saka play, and still he saved us, but we've still, as a 90-minute team performance, it hasn't excited us. It hasn't been, we're going for it this season. Anytime we've thought we're going to really do bits in the league this season, it's come off the back of defensive performances this season. So even with Saka there so far, the Odegaard loss is still very, very relevant. And, until we get him back and to see what position we're in, because we shouldn't lose everything you lot said about, our injuries is true. I mean, if you take Salah, McAllister and Van Dijk out of Liverpool, I don't think they're going to say, we're going to beat anyone like a big six side on the weekend. They'll be very hesitant about it. But I'm sorry, we are deep into what we're into now. I think what James said also works the other way. We finished above Liverpool twice. They've got a new manager. Regardless of injuries, we've got to win it. So on one hand, I like Arteta's. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I like Arteta's confidence on one hand, but does it border on? Well, we'll find out Sunday what it borders on. But the way Liverpool play now isn't a team that's going to come up against us and do what Man City and Tottenham did and try and take the game to us. Liverpool are a controlling outfit with Ange. That's why I foresee a bored draw, if I'm honest with you, or maybe an exciting draw. So? Yeah, I just think that the way I'm not impressed by Liverpool, by the way. I'm not overly impressed.
The other day,
yeah, I'm not overly impressed by them. I'm not, I think City are still favourites, and I think we should still go and beat Liverpool on Sunday. But I am nervy about it. Would be nervier without Saka. With Saka, I predict us to win. Without him, I think it's going to be a tough game to win. But I still don't think we should lose, because Liverpool, albeit they control games more often, they're not that scary attacking side anymore. So
they're not as devastating, are they? They're not quite as full throttle. I remember Liverpool, not even just at their best under Klopp. This has felt like almost from day one to the day he left. Apart from that one season, they were terrible. The Klopp side's always had this element of we will suffocate you till that ball just falls in the back of the net somehow. And Curtis, it feels like they've not quite got that this season, but maybe as a whole package, they're a bit more complete.
Do you know what? We've actually got to turn this game around and kind of face it back to Liverpool, because, honest slot at the end of the day, they've beaten Man United and Chelsea, which are big results for them. But like you said, they've lost to Forest. They haven't always looked convincing. And this is still Slot's hardest game of the season. Yeah. And if he doesn't win this game and if he gets beat, we'll all sit back and, actually, Liverpool aren't as good as you thought they were. under this manager. Now, obviously, if they win, it's a different scenario. And I think I actually like that Mikel Arteta said what he said after the game, because I think it was sort of a, listen, I know we're struggling at the moment, but don't forget about us. We have beaten these teams before. And listen, if we lose that game, it does blow up in his face. And people will go, well, you said that and then you perform like that. But he can't get caught up too much in the doom and gloom of, oh, we're injured and we're feeling sorry for ourselves. We are only third in the league. You know, we're only 4 points off the top, which will be a point if we beat them. Obviously, Man City as well are ahead of us. And we are unbeaten in the Champions League and have got off to a good start. So I think it is a rallying cry to say, look, that nobody said there wasn't going to be speed bumps in the road. We have been quite fortunate with injuries, particularly last season. It was always going to catch up with us at some point that we lost a few players. So I think we've got to go into that game with confidence. And I think, look, you look at it, Trent's had nightmares against Martinelli for a number of years. Saka's done a lot of damage on that side. I think Saka will play this weekend. Jota's injured for them at the moment. Alisson's injured for them. They're playing a night after us. They're in Germany. You've got every little bit of positivity that we can get out of it. And we need energy inside the stadium, because the atmosphere was so flat last night, which I kind of understand. We just lost to Bournemouth. It's Shakhtar. You know, but I still look at the game as an opportunity for the team to prove to people that, you know, I remember when we beat City last year, and was Saka out for that game? Didn't Jesus played wide, didn't he, against Vardy? And he really caused him problems. So I think the Arsenal players have got to look at it as an opportunity to say, look, we're struggling right now. We've got players missing, but it's an opportunity for people to step in. And, you know, we've got all these defenders, and people need to step in and kind of prove what they're about now.
I couldn't agree with you more. And actually, as we've been talking about injuries a little bit, let's just scratch beneath the surface a little bit in terms of those, because I think it's in good spirits from Arsenal fans to say, okay, we've got injuries, it's annoying, let's crack on. I think that's absolutely the right mentality. But have we learned maybe of the importance of Ødegaard and Saka in certainly the last few games, but in terms of the football we played, how much we generate actual good chances? It felt like earlier in the season we were talking about Martinelli maybe coming to life with adding Marino and Calafiori, blah, blah. But even with those fit, you still think, man, you pull that right side apart and it does feel significantly weaker. What do you think, Shiro? While it's, okay, not an excuse because the level we're at and the players we've still got, my word, like they have felt like a bigger miss than even I expected.
I think we ought to have known that about their importance, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we should have, yeah.
I mean, you're talking about your captain. You're talking about two players that have made the PFA Player of the Year. You're talking about England's best player week in, week out whenever he plays. You're talking about your best set-piece taker. You're talking about your penalty taker. You're talking about your star boy. We ought to have known the importance. And that's what really struck me, man, because in the window, when people were asking Arteta about the Calafiori signing, he said, look, I'm acutely aware of the fact that we got lucky with Gabriel and Saliba being so fit last year and they could play throughout the season. Immediately, my head started, going, well, we also got a bit lucky with Ødegaard and Saka because they also played a hell of a lot of minutes and they were fit. So that sort of misapplication of that logic, or that selective application of that logic, should I say, is perhaps what's coming back to bite us in the arse now with those injuries. And the players that have stepped in, it's going back to your point, right? Players need to look at this as an opportunity. And there are loads of players that should be playing for their place, and they should realize that the title's on the line. And they talk the talk, but they need to walk the walk. I'm not by any means talking about what I want to happen. We all know what I want to happen. I want us to smack Liverpool up, right? I want all of these players to step up, but I can only go by what I've seen in recent weeks, because football is a week-to-week results-based business in many ways. So, you're only as good as your last game, as they say. I've seen Sterling on the pitch. I've seen Trossard on the pitch and get sent off the pitch. And I've seen Jesus on the pitch. And that logic as to playing for their shirt and wanting to step up and wanting to fill the boots of their predecessors ought to have applied in a lot of those games. And seeing the way in which they reacted there, when they should be gunning for a place in the starting 11, Sterling should be trying to win over a fan base. Jesus should be trying to remind us why he's one of our highest paid players, and came in saying, "No, I'm GJ9 because I want to wear the striker's shirt." They haven't shown me that to date. All of that is, I know this sounds overly pessimistic. All of that is to say, what better opportunity than Liverpool at home? What better opportunity to even though you shouldn't have to at this stage, to absolutely unequivocally re-announce yourself in the title race and remind people that, yes, Ødegaard and Saka are incredible, but we're not bad ourselves. If they ever had a moment, this is it.
I'm hoping just the nature of the fixture just switches a flick in their mind, or switches a flicks. I've done a side.
Flicks a switch. Flicks a switch.
I've done a side.
I love you, Saeed. Go subscribe. You know, I hope it does. I'm trying to think of a real world example, but we've all been in a situation in which you maybe do something on a regular basis that's quite easy, and then a harder version comes, and it's, I got to lock in. It could be anything. It could be, we've all played football, right? It could be, oh, I've just played 8th in the league, I'm playing 6th in the league. You know, you're playing, you're trying, and then you got the game against top of the league. And you just know, like, we've all been in that situation. You just know, okay, there's another level I've got to get to mentally. We all like to think, I think, that as professional footballers, they treat Southampton at home the same way they treat Man City away. But you're human. You can't, surely. And I'm hoping the nature of, well, you're 4 points behind these lot. They're top of the league and they're coming here, and you know what they've done over the last 5-6 years. Naturally switches something on in those players that have something to prove. Now, Jesus last night, so the time of recording, obviously, it's the day after Shakhtar. Jesus against Shakhtar, I think a lot of people were really getting onto him, saying he didn't play well, frustrating. But I saw someone that was really trying. He was trying things. Like, he was trying to show, like, I can send a fullback the other way. I can pull out some skill. I can dig across to the back post. I'm going to work hard, win the ball out the pitch. So when he misses a chance, I'm frustrated, but not in the way I'm frustrated when I see whoever it was against Bournemouth, and I'm going, you lot aren't giving it all. And we need that jump in effort from Arsenal as well as quality. It's that jump in, like, concentration effort, because that's been missing as well, which has been a little bit concerning to us.
That's why, again, transfer window, you have to reinvigorate the side.
Yeah,
you know, this ain't breaking news. We all said, you know, and Pep's talked about it. I think Sir Alex talked about it. You know, to keep a side motivated is one of the most difficult things to do, even if winning. One of the most difficult. To be honest, Pep said winning makes it harder because, you know, of achievements, feeling like they've done, move on, next target. But it's hard enough doing it where, you know, when you're not winning. Yeah. This is the 3rd year now. So there was always going to be that risk that, you know, maybe players switch off a bit more, or maybe they don't believe in it a bit. Or I'm not saying this is all true.
No, but you're right.
It's an eye off the ball, because the players have had to be so focused for 2 years now, 2 seasons straight, and they've come out with nothing off the back of it. So you need to give this team an attacker, someone fresh that these men can, you know, look at and think that guy's going to fire us to the title. Not fucking Calafiori and say that guy's going to defend us to the title. Like, come on. It matters to the players as well. Let's be, the old players have talked about this before. It's not just me saying it, but normal human nature would be, if you sign a great attacking talent, and you look and you see he's in the dressing room, you can feel, yes, this might be the missing piece. I don't think none of the players looked and said Calafiori's the missing piece.
Yeah.
I took that one personally, by the way.
Yeah. Anything Italian, he's defending it. Do you know what? I like your point, though, James, about Jesus. Jesus, I think most of us as fans, we feel psychologically like maybe we're coming to the end of the road with Jesus, you know, at Arsenal long term. Hasn't been the solution we were hoping for. But I will give him credit for something. Like you said last night, he wasn't at his best, but he played out wide. He put in a shift and he tried, you know, and things just didn't happen for him. Like, that shot could have quite easily gone in the bottom corner. And, you know, I look at it and think he could have sat on Manchester City's bench and just collected another few titles. He came to Arsenal to try and be the man. It hasn't worked for him. And, you know, because I'm looking at Sunday and thinking, well, if Saka's out, who is the solution on that right-hand side? Because people are looking at Sterling like, well, is it happening? Do you go with Jesus? You know, do you put Trossard out there? Or what do you do? So I think it's important, even if we feel like a player like Jesus might be coming to the end, he has to still contribute while he's here. And we need to motivate him somehow to perform. So it's going to be interesting what team selection he goes with, even at centre-back, really. If Saliba being out, and it looks like Calafiori will probably be out. I'd be surprised if he played on Sunday with how he landed. So we're going to have some defensive issues as well.
Yeah, this is going to get really interesting, and it brings me on to the natural pecking order of our depth, which is something I really want to talk about in this, especially with the night to Liverpool, because I mean, I was making a bit of a big deal to you, Turkish, in the AFTV studio about Lewis Skelly coming on ahead of Zinchenko, but I forgot Kivior's another option too. And when you're 1-0 up with, you know, a lead to defend, Kivior was probably the go-to option. He was playing regularly at left back last season when we were arguably at our best, and he went for Lewis Skelly. Now, it goes without saying, huge congratulations to Lewis Skelly. He's only recently turned 18 and he's wearing the shirt and it's fantastic. None of what I'm about to say is trying to say that A, shouldn't have happened, or B, that I'm not happy for him, or C, that Arteta got it wrong. Nothing like that. I'm just purely asking a question because it's really fascinating that Lewis Skelly was above those two in the pecking order to come on in what was actually quite a tense end to a game. It was 26 minutes he was on the pitch and did well. Credit to him. And I hope he gets those minutes more. But then Sterling, who I thought looked bright but not particularly productive against Bournemouth for 30 minutes, didn't get the start. And, you know, sometimes managers go, listen, I'm sorry I had to take you off. It's the red card, but you got this one. Show us what you're about. Thank you for looking busy in the game. He went for Jesus. So Arteta's kind of, I don't know, and Waneri isn't getting the minutes. His management of the squad is surprising me a lot, and I don't know if it's in a good or bad way. What do you guys think about it?
It feels like, you know, it feels like, yeah, it feels like his back's against the wall right now. You know, it feels like he doesn't know who to trust. He's hoping that, you know, when given a chance, maybe the players, you know, decide, trust me. I don't think they did that against Bournemouth. Probably some of them didn't do it against Southampton in certain positions. For example, I don't think Trossard's the ideal 10 for Mikel Arteta. I think the numbers also say it, and behind the numbers you spoke about it, James. There's a reason the numbers have changed so much, I think, with Odegaard out. So he's had to do things this season already, and probably will have to do things moving forward that's not ideal for him. And when you consider it's the year of expectation now, that's not really what. So I think that, you know, he's under pressure, and he will put pressure on himself. That's what I want people to understand here, because, you know, he's spoken over the years of, you know, Arsenal should be winning things, Arsenal should be challenging, and so in these moments he will be applying that pressure on himself, to get it right again. I think the Ranieri stuff, I get why fans want to see him. I want to see him because of what we don't have, because of the window. But I also get why Mikel doesn't want to rely on him. Like I said in another pod, or maybe the watch along, Marino's come in as a seasoned Spanish international. He's been put in a platform that's, you know, not great, and he's come out being ridiculed. That can happen to a Mourinho, and you can say, you know, tough luck, mate. Yeah, on to the next one and improve. That happens to a Ranieri, it can have a deeper impact, a bigger impact. So it's one that has to be managed a bit more. I think Lewis Skelly, I said, was it Bolton? I said Lewis Skelly, you know, mature. He's very mature for his age in terms of the way he comes on the pitch last night and just wants the ball everywhere, tight gaps. He gives it, he moves, he wants it and I think that's what's put him up in the pecking order, as well as Kiwior's performance against Bournemouth.
Lewis Skelly won you over in Philadelphia. I remember I watched second half with you, and he came on and he did the Zinchenko thing more than Zinchenko does it. And I remember you saying this guy looks ready, like, you know, and he's also got the build, and he doesn't look 18, does it? You know, in the way he plays and the way he, again, on the watch along, you were saying, look at him demanding the ball in really tight spaces, 3 men around it, but he knew, if I get it and I give it, we've taken 3 players out of the game. So he seems to have that intelligence, someone who's a midfielder who only recently is being asked to just do a job at left back, or is being converted to that, because I think one of the more recent times he played with the under-21s, he started at left back. So they're clearly trying to get that into him. But I thought it was really fascinating. Curtis Sharoy as well. What do you guys think about the pecking order of players? Because I've been surprised by the lack of Waneri. I've been surprised by the indecisiveness with Jesus and Sterling. I've been surprised by Timber playing at centre-back in pre-season, but full-back pretty much all main season. I've been surprised by Marino playing in the 6 when he could have just kept Trossard in the 10. The management of the squad, and Arteta, I know, will get 90% of it right, but I have been surprised. And then Lewis Skelly coming on again was kind of the icing on the cake, where I just went, I'm going to stop predicting what this guy's going to do.
I mean, Skelly was that laid back. He had diamond earrings in, didn't he? You know, man's like, yo, take your earrings out, bro. You know what I mean? You're not playing outside your house. But No, I think in general, Arteta confuses us. A lot of the time it works out and you just go, what do I know? He gets it right anyway. But then sometimes you're sitting there going, I just didn't see that coming. And you look at, like you're saying, with the fullback situation, I think with Kivior having such a bad game at Bournemouth, I almost think he wanted to just take him out the firing line. Because if Kivior comes on last night at 1-0 and makes a mistake, the fans would have destroyed him, and just that could have been the end of him, to be honest, at the club. Zinchenko, maybe, I thought he might have gone for him, and it's, the connection, Ukrainian club and stuff, but he clearly trusts Skelly, and I think his quality on the ball and his willingness. I still look at Zinchenko and I think I still see a frustrated midfielder playing at left back, in my opinion. I still think he desperately wants to play in midfield, where Skelly's 18, he's desperate to prove himself. When you're that age, you're going to do whatever the matter. You want me to play left back? I'll be a left back, and I'm happy to play there, and I'll smile. Zinchenko's playing number 8 for Ukraine as captain, and then he's at left back for us. So clearly, I still think
left back. He's third choice, fourth choice left back.
Well,
do you know what I mean? It must be even more frustrating. It's like, you're not playing your best position. Do you mind covering 3 other players? And by the way, I'm a Zinchenko fan. I actually like Zinchenko. I still think there's things he can offer this team, but he is behind Calafiori, Timber, and Tomiyasu in the pecking order. He is.
Yeah. So again, similar to Jesus, I think we've reached a point with those two where maybe we've outgrown them a little bit. But it's interesting. Waneri, for me, I feel like should have got more minutes. I can sort of understand why he doesn't start him all the time, but I just think let him loose a little bit. And I said the other day on a show, I said, if he was 21, I think he'd have got a lot more game time. I genuinely think it only is an age thing that's costing him minutes, because we can all see the talent. We watched him against Man United in pre-season. It's like he's picking up the ball and turning Casemiro and all these guys, and he just looks comfortable. So I do think it's an age thing where he's almost thinking, I don't want to throw him in the frying pan and something goes wrong. I'll go with Trossard, or I'll go with Marino, because they'll be able to deal with the backlash if it goes wrong. I think sometimes, Mikel, just throw him in there. Southampton at home was a great opportunity. I even think last night you could have put him in there, and worst case scenario, you take him off after 60 minutes, pat him on the back, and I still think we'd have had enough to win the game, where you're not going to throw him in from the start against Liverpool, let's be honest. So he's not going to play this game. He'll probably start against Preston next week. So I'd like to see him be a little bit more adventurous with the young players, because he didn't even actually bring Saka and those guys through, did he? He kind of came in and picked up where they were. So yeah, it's interesting.
And that kind of goes back to Turkish's point at the beginning about the Havertz switch last year, right? He had to do something that was a bit left field, or some sort of change that you feel like you've got a new player and it galvanizes someone in that position. But it does seem as though from what we've seen from the small cameos that Ethan could be that little change that could be made to sort of reinvigorate the attacking side of the team. And one of the big gripes that a lot of fans had last year was, man, why did we wait until that latter half of the season to put Havertz up top? Would it have shaped up differently if we did it earlier in the season? Because he did look good in that second half. I just hope that we're not looking back with Ethan being integrated in, let's say, a month's time or 2 months' time, but results haven't gone our way because of some form of attacking deficiency. But he then looks incredible when he comes in. I mean, in terms of the squad management question, James, the only one that I think is really, really frustrating Arteta is that Jesus and Sterling one. I just think he's rotating the starts that he gives them both, because he's just thinking, I need to play you into form. Can one of you hit some, please? I think I honestly think he knows that if you're going to have Odegaard out, if you're going to have Saka out, for example, if Martinelli isn't putting the chances away that he ought to, and you can't use Trossard on the left because you're being forced to use him centrally, he does need one of Jesus or Sterling to step up, and they are experienced players. I think it's with those two, it's very much a, look, I put faith in you. You guys are getting adequately remunerated. You do have very, very good CVs. I need you guys to hit form, and I'm going to give you as many minutes as I can for you to try and hit it.
I do think, and I'm not doing this, this ain't Jamaica tax again, but Sterling hasn't really had much of an opportunity, has he? He started at Bournemouth, like you said. He looked bright. The end product wasn't great. 30 minutes he comes off. I thought as soon as he came off, I thought Mikel will whisper in his ear, "Don't worry, you'll start on Tuesday." I just thought, you've worked with him at Man City for years. Like you said, James, it's just one of them. We're down to 10 men. I've got to, you know what I mean? And then I didn't see him start last night, and I thought, wow, that how would you be feeling there as Sterling? I've come here on loan. I've started. You've dragged me off, which I would still be frustrated under those circumstances. Because we was all saying, well, you've took off our quickest attacker there, and we're going to have to try and hit Bournemouth on the counter-attack. And then you don't play him last night. So and a lot of Arsenal fans are kind of writing him off. And listen, he hasn't looked particularly great. I think the only argument he could have is, I think Bolton and Bournemouth are actually his only 2 starts that he's had. So
he started Southampton at home and came off at 1-1. And Martinelli then gets the. So, but you're right. I was thinking a similar thing. Without sometimes it could feel like you're trying to almost stir drama that isn't there. But I did wonder, like, you're coming off after 30 minutes against Bournemouth when you're one of the few who actually look like they might do something in the game, and then you don't start the Champions League game. Like, I did wonder how Sterling might have felt about that, but then I guess you're probably listen, we pulled you out of Chelsea where you didn't even have a squad number. You're working with Mikel, who got the best, who helped get the best football out of you. Just keep calm and carry on. There's a long season. You'll play your part, I imagine, is the message.
Exactly. Look at the way his parent club treats him. I mean, he's not getting treated in as equitable a manner as other Arsenal players, but my God, he's getting treated a lot better than he is or he was at Chelsea. And my whole point with this is, again, we do like the sound bites, right? But if you're going to talk the talk, you do somewhat have to walk the walk. I know they've only been cameos, but his release video was, "You're going to see the best of me now." Yeah,
no,
so
I can't believe you actually did that.
So if that's your own base,
yo, bro, I'm telling you, we thought that intro was like, yo, I'm gonna make stuff happen, and yeah.
So when you're playing against Bolton, and when you're playing against Southampton, and when you do start against Bournemouth, and everything does appear to go through you, I'm sorry, but if you're going to come out and say we're going to see the best of you, we do have to see it. I'm not one of these guys that's completely written him off. But I am saying that these guys aren't doing themselves any favors in terms of how they're being perceived right now, and I think that's fair.
Was you not wowed by his 2-yard tapping against Bolton? Then I thought that was
the one that fell to him, on the line. Yeah,
great finish.
I thought he hit it clean, man.
Keeper had no chance, mate.
Do you know what? Me and Turkish, obviously, we do the show every week. When he first came, I said, "Yo, Sterling, this, that, the other." A couple of shows later, I said, "Yo, I'm glad there's no option to buy you." I'm telling you now.
That's one thing about Curtis, when he knows he'll change his mind straight, just like that, man.
Oh, bro, I said, listen, he's Chelsea's problem July the 1st, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah, man.
July 1st, that's an extra month. No, look, I think he can, and I actually think he will come good. But what do I mean by good? I just need him to be a good squad player, and I think he'll get to that. But yeah, it's been an underwhelming start. I don't expect to start
James, I think you're being optimistic, mate. I'll be honest
with you. Of course
I
am. It's me.
Because the fucking squad needs to be used now. And if he's going to be a good squad player, then be good now. Because hopefully in a little while, we can get back to our 11 and you can just chill on the bench and just pick up 4 minutes a game.
on being a good squad player, we didn't bring in a 9. So being a good squad player in the Arsenal side means if you're a winger, you have to be a goal scorer. That is a good squad player. We used to bank on Martinelli and Saka to get 10 to 15 a season like 2 years ago, right? Mm. And if they're not doing it, a good squad player has to come in and fill that void because of the void that we have up top, particularly if Havertz isn't playing. We don't have the 30 or 40 goal a year striker. So a good squad player is relative, club to club. A good squad player for us has to get goals.
Yeah, let's build the rest of the 11, not the rest of the back four for Sunday, which I think is going to include several squad players. And let's be honest, guys, there's a lot of ways to go about it. Now, the one thing Arteta's confirmed, which is fantastic, Ben White has just played, as he said, a lot of games with only 10 men. The last 2 periods of City and Bournemouth. The poor bloke's thinking, what's going on? So cool. He was on a yellow card. He struggled in the second half against Bournemouth. He wasn't great against Shakhtar. We know the levels he can get to. He has my full faith. Now, assuming he's available with Gabriel, we've then got to do something either at right back or centre back or left back. 2 of those 3 have to be addressed. Who wants to go first? Throw your ideas out there. Because, of course, we all get it. If Calafiori and Timber are fit, they play. So I guess all this is also asking for opinions on whether you think they're fit and whether you think they'll play.
I play Declan Rice centre-back.
Oh, my days.
Big.
That's a big shout.
You know why? Because I think Partey's definitely been the better midfielder this season, and I think we saw that yesterday when Partey moved from midfield. We wasn't the same. Not saying Rice was poor, but we lost a lot with Partey, and I think throughout he deserves his spot. So rather than him move right back, I think Declan Rice centre back with Ben White right back. I think that should be more than enough to cope with a Diaz. I think it's probably going to be Núñez up top. I think Gabriel and Declan Rice. I think it could work. Listen, we're stretched, so we're going to have to do something left field here. Either it's Partey right back or Zinni's coming in to do something, or So for me, the first shout I'd say is Declan Rice centre back.
But so is that assuming Timber's fit?
Yeah, because Timber will be left back.
I hear it. But you've got one of White or Timber.
If Timber's out, who would you play left back?
But then it's Lewis Skelly, isn't it? Who else we got? It's Kivior, Zinchenko or Lewis Skelly. You've bought Lewis Skelly on ahead of them the last match.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. So that is, I'm sorry, you cannot then go to someone else. It has to be him.
This is my point. And people thought that, because I talked about my match report, and there are a few comments being like, look, not that deep, maybe we should give him minutes or whatever. But I'm thinking, so what? So Zinchenko, who hasn't started a game since Wolves, which was the opening game of the season, and I can't remember even coming on. Maybe he came on against Brighton. I can't remember. So are we saying that we're going to just throw him in against Salah, who he struggled against anyway?
And I actually, and if I weigh up all their chances against Salah, I know Zinni can be exposed against Salah. I know Salah can run rings around Kivior. Lewis Skelly, interesting. Put him in there. That's just how I see it. Young, vibrant. He's going to be up for the fight. For him in his generation, imagine he locks down Salah, he'll go viral on social media. Like there's a lot for him to get out of starting against Liverpool and wanting to prove himself. So why not?
So Curtis, what would you do? Oh, sorry, go on, sure. Go on, no,
I was just saying, looking at his treatment of Ranieri and all of the stuff that we're saying about why he's not starting him. That's why I think he would far quicker resort to something like Thomas Partey at right back and then accommodate Rice and Marino, as opposed to playing a Lewis Skelly on the left. I'm not saying I agree with it. And I think Partey at right back means that you're actually moving your best midfielder out of position as well. So you'd probably lose something in the back line and the midfield if you did it. But I think that's the way that Arteta would lean if there are all those injuries. We've seen it at the beginning of last season. We've seen it for segments this season. I think that's what he'd do. We
could be in big trouble here, guys. If Timber's not fit, there's a legitimate chance it's Partey, White, Gabriel, and then one of Zinchenko, Kivior, or Lewis Skelly. And all three have serious drawbacks as to why you would want them in that position. But let me say on Lewis Skelly, it's because of age over anything, right? So, that's pretty terrifying. At least if Timber's fit, what you could justify is, I need Timber left back. I just need him up against Salah. Therefore, Partey, White, Gabriel, Timber, not ideal, but tactically there's some sense to it.
Yeah, I mean we need Timber fit desperately, to be honest, because looking at Liverpool's attack, their wingers are their strength. I think they're playing Gakpo and Salah tonight, so whether he goes Diaz or Gakpo, I just don't think Partey can be at right back. I'm not saying he won't go with that, but I just don't see that as a viable solution. He can't play there. Two quick wingers, I just think they'll expose him. And also it weakens our midfield drastically. I actually think, listen, hopefully Timber's there and you get him at left back and then we've only got to deal with one or two other positions. But I actually think he's got to play Kivior at centre-back. If let's say Calafiori's not available. Because I look at it and I think, let's say Darwin. No, let me explain.
Listen, see what Semenyo was doing to him, bro.
Yeah, I know, but listen, hear me out. You want Declan Rice at centre back, bro? Come on, man. We got
bro. Why not?
Well, at least give and take.
Bro, Kivior's just been roasted just a week ago. So
but you know what, bro? Like, he's a centre back. He cost 27 million, bro. Yeah, you had a bad day. You got dragged. Can you not brush that off and get on with it? I've seen him play all right for Arsenal at times. I don't think he's good enough. But you telling me he can't go centre back next to Gabriel for one game with Partey protecting him with 11 players on the pitch? He came in.
Sorry, bro. I think his positioning is awful as right centre back. I'll be honest with you. I've seen moments he just doesn't know where he is. Like he's turning the wrong way. I've seen enough of him in that position, albeit what's over time, maybe 70 minutes. That's more than enough. I don't want to see 72 minutes.
Let me. I'm only bringing that for these circumstances, right? Imagine Timber and Calafiori are out. So we've only got Ben White and Gabriel. Then we need 2 defenders to come in. You can either put Ben White next to Gabriel and then figure out right and left back. That means you're weak at both fullback areas against their 2 probably most dangerous players, which I think that's just mental. So I'm thinking at least if Kivior's at centre back next to Gabriel and you're against the Darwin Núñez, maybe you get Gabriel tight to Núñez and Kivior. You might just
what about character them? Like that what you said aside, doesn't it sound better? Gabriel and Rice, 2 of our leaders, are starting centre back together. Everything's in front of them. They know what is needed. Whereas Kivior's a bit like he's our player, but he ain't gonna be our player much longer. It's like he knows what it is. We know what it is.
My only doubt with that would be though, bro. Like when's the last time Declan Rice played centre back? Because it must have been a number of years. And second of all, then you're looking at what Marino, Partey midfield against man like Szoboszlai and Gravenberch, Curtis Jones, high energy.
He's been dead though, Szoboszlai.
He hasn't been great, but you know what I'm saying? That's a slow midfield as well. I get what you're saying. You want that solidarity at centre-back and you feel like Gabriel and Rice and then everything. I suppose, listen, all them solutions, none of them sound great. If Timber and Calafiori are not in that back 4, we're in trouble. It doesn't matter which way you go. Lewis Skelly, an 18-year-old against Salah. Kivior, who probably should have been sold. Rice at the back. Partey at right back. We just got to hope Timber's available. Then you've only got one position. But then would you play Timber at centre-back next to Gabriel to have that solidarity, or do you play him at left-back? Then you've still got...
Salah. Timber has to take Salah if he's fit. I'm sorry. Timber, in terms of one-on-one defending, he's got to be on Salah there. Absolutely.
Yeah. Then you're forcing something at right-back or centre-back that you won't like. Whether it's Kivior, whether it's Rice, whether it's Partey.
I'd rather do that. I'd rather do that.
Could get fit. That would be fantastic, please. Yeah. That would be brilliant. If Calafiori's fit, then you are just going to keep Calafiori at left back. But Sharoy, you're backing on. I think Timber's fit, but I don't think they're going to play left back because I just don't think we're going to have the options across the rest of the defence to afford to play left back.
I'm operating on the assumption that Calafiori's not playing, man, and I know that. I know that you're saying that you might have something that you don't like at centre back, or you might have something that you don't like at right back. But Mo Salah's Mo Salah. You need to worry about extinguishing that guy and then turn to everyone else on that pitch. We're talking about a Premier League great who's showing that he can still be devastating in that situation. I worry about him a lot more than I worry about Diaz and Núñez. And I mean, I know they could very easily score, but I'm saying I want my best available one-on-one defender on that flank.
I agree.
I hear it, but I think Arteta's built a squad that, when everyone's fit and fully fit and ready to go, he could put an 11 that both worries about dealing with Salah, but can also implement his football and attack. Now, I think we've lost a lot of the ingredients that help us to stop a Mo Salah and what Liverpool do really well. But I still think we've got plenty out there to go and hurt Liverpool. So I want to focus more on that, which is why I say all this with my team. My prediction is Timber will be fit, but Calafiori won't be. That's my prediction. Yeah. I hope they're both fit. If they're both fit, they both start. I would go White at right back. I'd go Timber, Gabriel centre back, and I'll explain White, Timber centre back, and not White in a second. And I'd go Lewis Skelly. Now it's basically going to be one of Lewis Skelly, Kivior, and Zinchenko. But it's like Turk said, I think Arteta gave us the answer on Tuesday night. He told us there's a problem at left back, and I'm asking this guy to solve it in what was a tense situation. If he brought on Kivior, my answer today would be Kivior. If he brought on Zinchenko, my answer today would be Zinchenko. But he picked Lewis Skelly, so I'm low-key kind of going off what he said.
But looking at it the other way, he could be saying, I'm completely shafted at left back. I can't actually afford to bring on the person that I need to start on the weekend. Here you go, young man, go play. Could be either way.
But then I think but then I'd add that if it's gonna be Kivior, you need him to have better minutes than he just had against Bournemouth, and if it's Zinchenko, you need him to have minutes full stop, rather than worry about the injury.
Yeah, I opted for Timber at centre back over White, of course, if he's fit. Now, I think for almost any other game, I'd go White centre back because he's played with Gabriel there before. But in pre-season, I really enjoyed watching Timber centre back. Now, okay, it was against Bournemouth and Liverpool had changed. Well, actually, didn't play Liverpool game. Man United made change or whatever. But what I liked about Timber at centre back was I think he's more aggressive than Ben White. He's not as tall, and he's actually still very good in the air. But I think he's more aggressive in the ground duels. And I actually think if there's one thing that Liverpool's front three, as a rule for basically any forward player who plays for Liverpool, they've all got to be nimble, have that turn, have that change of pace, have that ability to play either between the lines or out wide, dart in behind, get it to feet, turn and shoot. They're very like ball on the ground players who will use their body well and their skill and their flair. And yes, they can be very direct, but I think Timber defends that a little bit better than a Ben White, who I think he's taller. He's very good out the back, as is Timber. But I just think Timber, when it comes to dealing with those Liverpool front three strengths, I know White is still capable of dealing with all that very well. But I just think his positioning and his acceleration to kind of deal with what they can offer is a touch better, Timber's.
Do you know what? I just want to finish my reasoning behind Kivior, because I'm actually not even a fan of Kivior. So I've got to finish the explanation.
Is he in your fantasy team or something? What's going on?
Yeah, I know. No, I don't know what's going on. But do you know what it is? Listen, I like Lewis Skelly, and I do think he could do something, but it's not even just Salah. If you said to me what's Liverpool's best part of their team, it is that whole right-hand side. It's Trent and Salah. They are devastating on that side. Trent crosses from deep, Salah, sometimes the overlap. And I just think, that whole right-hand side can kind of smother you at times when you play against them. Skelly and Martinelli, Martinelli has them days a bit wild, although I thought he played well yesterday. He's rediscovering a little bit of his form. I just think if you've got Timber against Salah and it can rough him up a little bit, and Timber also gets forward as well, which then, pushes Trent back and gets us up the pitch, where Martinelli then can maybe go and hurt Trent, which he has done over the years as well. And then I'm thinking if they are putting crosses in, at least with Gabriel and Kivior, you've got a bit of height to maybe deal with Darwin Núñez. But yeah, he probably
you ain't sold it to me, bro.
I ain't sold it. So you're all right. You're going Declan Rice.
When you said cross into the box and Kivior, remember when he did that? That's what I remembered straight away. I forget.
The sun was in his eyes, bro.
I
remember that as well. That was shocking.
That was his debut, actually.
Yeah, it was.
It was. And that one. Remember that one? He was tying his laces that time. Was that Brentford?
Brighton at home, 3-0.
Oh, was it Brighton? Yeah. I haven't even sold the Kivior thing to myself, to be honest. I'm just thinking of solutions.
see what we're doing here, though. We're sitting here the whole time. We're sitting here with Liverpool coming to our gaff, and we're talking about how can we construct a back four that can extinguish their threat. When everything we've been talking.
Do we go for a back three? Sure, we could go Ben White, Timber, and Gabriel, and then go wing back. He's probably not going to, but.
It'd be such a leap from what we've been doing. That's my only worry.
And you see my real worry is coming back from that international break and looking at the way we went into Bournemouth. That, for me, was a real telltale sign of if we're going to change something in terms of even the personnel, as drastically as we did there with Marino in an attacking position, we look pretty bad when we haven't got time to work on it. We look clueless at times going forward in that game, right? So if we're now changing the entire defensive system... I mean, how long have we had to work on that realistically? Well, that is the problem. But my overarching point is we're not even talking about how we're going to threaten them. We're talking about how we're going to extinguish their threat. when the last 3 or 4 games, our biggest complaint has actually been that we're not creating enough of a threat ourselves. And what Turkish is saying about the way that Slot sets up, that puts even more importance on someone like Saka for me. Because there are games like when someone sets up to frustrate you, I know Odegaard can be a difference maker, but he's not at his most effective when there are low blocks in the same way that Saka is, because Saka's just so bloody efficient. It can just be one ball into the box. It can just be a little bit of room and I'll bang it into the top corner. That's why he's so important, particularly in that kind of game. And I don't know, man. Well, how long we got? 4 or 5 days. Listen, you need to give them every legal sort of recovery steroid you can. You need to get them on absolutely everything, bro. Give them all the massages they need. We need these boys ready, because I can just imagine what that feeling's like on the day when we see that team sheet with or without Bukayo Saka, and they are polar opposites.
It's crazy, isn't it? 3:30 is almost going to be as big as 4:30. When that team sheet comes out, you're going to be like, oh my God, if you don't see Saka and Timber, you're going to be like, wow, the whole outlook of this game changes.
I think we have to see that. I think we'll know before then. I think there's still 2 days worth of training pictures to come out. I think if we don't see Saka or Timber in them, they're not playing.
Yeah, we're going to learn a lot, as you said. 3:30. It's even 15 minutes earlier than that now. 3:15.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Course,
yeah, Curtis, you'll be doing a watch along, won't you, on Curtis Shaw TV?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot will be going on. That's for sure.
Yeah.
If we win, it feels like, we've climbed the mountain. We're back. Do you know what I mean? If we lose, it's a mini disaster. 7 points at this stage. I think, from my point of view, I don't think the draw does us any favors either. I know it doesn't. No, it doesn't take us out of it. Yeah, 4 points. But I always think when you're playing a rival at home, you've got to really try and beat them. You know, because Anfield is it second to last game of the season? I think so.
Like that,
we've got to beat them. We've got to go for them. Make life difficult for them.
I agree. Everyone, go check out Curtis's reactions throughout the game, and of course all the content on Curtis Shaw TV, Turkish LDN, and the Big Six, and of course you can catch the two of them together on Original Gunners and Sharoy on Sharoy's Voice. It's been a pleasure having you all on, guys. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, come on, man. Love for the invite.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Long overdue.
We were really looking forward to this one, man. Really looking forward to this one. Been trying to get you guys on for a minute. I'm glad we made it work.
It's a shame it couldn't be under better circumstances, but here we are.
Yeah, we'll do it again. But it's my fault because I'll message Curtis being like, yo, can you do Monday? Oh, sorry, I can't do Mondays. 2 weeks later, yo, can you do this Monday? I can't do Mondays. What about this Monday? Give me any other time but Monday. Wednesday, I'm in. So there we go.
And then Turkish was messaging me like, yeah, James wants us to go on Goonerverse. I was like, oh, man's not even messaging me direct anymore.
He said, nah.
He just cut off communication.
Fucking Monday.
He said, listen, I'll see you on tour next year, but I'm not talking to you for the rest of the
time.
We'll leave it there, everyone. That's been the Big Liverpool Preview. I didn't realise we could talk about the game for a whole hour, but there we go. It needed it. A lot to discuss. Of course, any updates around team news we'll all be keeping up to date on all our various platforms as well, including here on the Goonerverse. Guys, big thanks. Catch you in a bit. Really hope you've enjoyed another episode of the Goonerverse podcast with Arsenal fans from around the Arsenal world giving their amazing thoughts. A big thanks to our guest today. If you do want to follow this podcast on the go, you can. It's available on podcast platforms as well. Join us next week where we'll get more Arsenal fans to talk all things Arsenal. A big thank you again.